podcast? So you were telling me you did voiceovers?
I did. Yeah, it was kind of an extension of. Oh, there we go. Yeah, well, I used to. It's been a while.
No, I get it.
Yeah, I was an actor. That's why I moved out, and voiceovers were
Moved
an
out.
extension to Los Angeles
But from where?
from Alabama.
Alabama. You mentioned this. I just want I want people to catch up.
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah,
you
I
came from
moved to-
Alabama, and that was the goal to do acting.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, and then you know how Los Angeles is. You can
Well, eat
go
your
in a
life.
million different directions. So, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for making a delicious espresso.
Absolutely. It is a bit strong. It's a Cuban espresso. So this is what I have probably twice a day. It's my go-to. How'd you get into writing? I first of all, nice sportster. That's the matte cream. What do they call that color?
I like to call it blonde.
Matte blonde or just blonde?
I mean, just blonde.
That's awesome.
I'm going to adjust this mic real quick because I think it's... There we go.
Comfortable?
I think so.
Good.
Can you hear me? I feel like it's going in and out.
Oh, do you? No, I can hear you. Can you
Okay.
hear me clear?
Yep.
Because I wonder... Try again.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'll just stay put.
Okay. Whatever is comfortable. It's usually not a big deal, too. Usually I can edit it or fix it up. So how'd you get into writing?
I watched The Long Way Down and The Long Way Up and, no, Long Way Round and The Long Way Up. Is that, no, Down. Now I'm forgetting like
The
which
Long Way
ones
Up.
came first. Yeah, it was Round, then Down, and now Up came out in 2020? In the
Yeah.
midst of COVID.
Almost 19. I think one of them came out in 19 and 20.
Yeah.
Something around there.
And
And that so you just got into bikes.
yeah,
You just
I'd
dove
been
right in.
traveling a little bit, and I went to Paris and stayed by myself in a hotel, and wanted to see kind of how it would feel to live in Paris. And I was there for like a week and a half. Was the max I could afford. Lived in a little tiny hotel there, and weirdly, my French teacher from Alabama had moved to Versailles. And so I took the train out to see her, and the people out there were so friendly. One of them, I asked her where the address was to find my French teacher, and she literally took me on a tour of the whole town and pointed things out. And
That's beautiful.
yeah.
What
it
town
was
were you
great.
in?
Versailles.
Oh, Versailles.
Yeah.
Sorry, Versailles.
And
In-
I bought a baguette and cheese and a cider and laid in, the grass of the estate. And it just felt more open and friendly. And I got a whole different flavor of France, it was just a little bit. And so when I saw Long Way Around, I thought, man, that's the way to travel through places, because there's no barrier.
None.
You're in the physical space. You're smelling the smells. You're feeling the rain or the wind. And I think it lends itself to, you're just more accessible to people as well, especially if you're traveling alone, which I do primarily or have done. You roll up to a place by yourself on a bike and people are immediately, I think they're intrigued and they're more apt to, they have something to talk to you about,
And it's easier to approach people. Where'd you come from? Do you need directions? Do you need anything?
Absolutely.
It becomes a real big part of your body. I tell people all the time, and I've said it on this podcast many times, that it's the strangest thing, because every time I approach my motorcycle, there's a little bit of a fear, and I've been riding almost 25 years now, okay? There's always a little bit of fear. Sometimes I'm out at night and I'm cold, and I'm chilly. Few times, I've had a drink or two and I feel a little buzzed. But there's something about, as I'm walking to the bike, I feel these, all these feelings, right before I get onto the bike. But the moment I throw a leg over and I turn on the bike, everything goes away. everything. Like
Yeah.
if I'm freezing, you know,
Yeah.
if it's, well, in California, if it's like 50 something, you know, that's still cold for us. But now I'm on a bike going 80 miles an hour and I don't feel the cold. I don't stress out about the cold. All of a sudden, that fear of riding or, you know, oh man, be careful. All of a sudden, like all my senses are hyped up, and I'm looking at mirrors and wheels, and, you know, it's an amazing way to experience a city, and you feel more of the city. A car is so boring that you just kind of like, you're on your phone, you're playing with the radio, you're...
Oh, 1,000,000%.
Yeah.
You know, I watch it as I'm going by these cars that are, you know, almost hitting me because
ridiculous.
they're on their phones or they're eating, and I'm guilty too. I'm not going to pretend like I don't, because LA traffic is terrible.
It's absolutely...
And so you're sitting there for an hour, what could have been a 20-minute drive. You're sitting there for an hour just in bumper to bumper. And so your attention span isn't that long. And I think
cars are so easy to drive that you end up doing a billion things.
Yeah. Motorcycles, I think, put you in a flow state. And I think that's why it's so addictive, because it's no matter how long you've been riding, especially in LA traffic, you have to pay attention. You have to be in the present.
100%.
And if your attention just lags for a second, you can get into real trouble. So I think that's why it's just very clearing of the mind to get on the bike, because you just can't focus on anything else.
Yeah. So you watch these shows, these documentaries, you know, and you say, and now you're in Paris, and now you're like, wait a minute, I want a bike. This is the only way. Like,
Paris was first, and then I watched the documentaries, and it all just kind of clicked. You know, like I took the experience of being in Paris and then going out to Versailles and like getting that space and traveling through the countryside on the train, and watching the documentary was just like on a whole different level. I mean, Ewan and Charlie just traveled. Yeah, for those people who have not seen the docu-series, it's Ewan McGregor.
Yeah. But just in case.
Most people, those two have gotten so many people into riding. I think it's pretty ubiquitous. But they travel around the world on BMW motorcycles, and yeah, it's just the way they're able to interact with people, and you know, they need people's help. They need to stop places. They need to get out of the mud.
They deal with real issues.
And when you create that kind of team building exercise with like random strangers, it just immediately connects you to the place and the people. And I've experienced that for sure. I took a trip to New Zealand and rode around on Triumph Tiger 800 that I rented down there.
Great bike.
And I brought, you know, a hiking pack, and I just taught myself. I went to REI, I went to Sammy's, and I just asked, you know, this is what I'm doing. Let's brainstorm the gear that I need, and, you know, what are the clothes that I need? Yeah,
how do I camp
what
out?
Are the boots?
Waterproof.
Yeah,
What
totally.
happens if it rains?
Oh my God, it's so much fun. Like, I love gear. I love researching all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I would camp in a spot, and I'd wake up with a little note that said, hey, you know, if you need anything, call this number. I saw that you were alone, blah, blah, blah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. I always felt like people think that it's so scary to travel alone, especially as a woman. I always feel like maybe once or twice I've gotten, you know, a little weird vibes and you just bounce. But for the most part, I feel held, you know, by the people that surround me. People like really step up. And I feel
what's crazy is that people in general are nice people. You know,
absolutely.
like people are like, you know, friends and family, like, oh man, watch out, strangers, too many strangers. I go, you know what? And again, I've said this so many times. If I was to get a flat tire in one of my cars, I can probably get help from a stranger before I can convince a friend to get to the 405 and come and help me change a tire. You know what I mean?
That's it.
And just to be clear, I don't need anybody to help me change a tire. But the point is, you know, like if you just need something,
yeah,
a stranger will come through, you know, more than anything. Or here's another way to look at it. We're worried about strangers. Strangers this, strangers that. Be careful. All strangers got to take advantage of you, blah, blah, blah. We jump on freeways every day with thousands of people driving cars that weigh thousands of pounds
Right.
that at any moment can just create chaos.
That's right.
And we have no problems, you know. I mean, yeah, of course you get a few assholes here and there. And what's the worst thing? A fuck you or a honk, and you know that's it.
Yeah, you have
That's
to believe in the collective, you know, the rules and believe that people are going to follow them. On the motorcycle especially, you know. I did learn my lesson that double yellow lines don't mean fuck, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's you just got to trust. Vigilance, but you trust that people aren't going to be completely
you need
crazy.
You need to be prepared. You need to pay attention. A major amount of accidents is rider error. You know, I strongly believe that. You probably don't know this, but I used to be the general manager for Harley Davidson years ago, and I sold tons and tons and tons of bikes. And every time I heard about an accident, it was rider error. You know, I hate to say it, but it was rider error. And the two popular ones is the T-bone on the cross street, you know, where a car's making a left and somebody's riding very aggressive, very fast, and the car doesn't expect this bike to come at that speed. They take the turn, they crash. And you always hear, like, some asshole turned in front of me. We used to service the police bikes, and I was like, what happened to Frank? Well, you know, witnesses said the guy was going 60, 70 miles an hour on, Van Nuys Boulevard or Ventura Boulevard or something. It's like, you can't go that speed on something that like that. So it's rider error, and then turns. People always mess up on turns. They take turns too aggressive. They don't brake on time, and those are the two biggest accidents. And I just strongly believe that's rider error.
Absolutely. I think there's a big contingent of that. I think also, you know, I see some of these guys. There was a guy riding 2 days ago. I was riding to work, and there was a guy on a sports bike sitting side saddle, you know, I was going 70. He was probably going 80, you know, down the highway, just mucking about, which is fine, to each his own. But, you know, don't tell me that I'm an organ donor because I ride safely. I don't sit side saddle going 80 miles an hour.
Of course.
Down the highway.
What's crazy too is that I think it's more dangerous driving a car in LA than a motorcycle.
I mean, I don't know the stats. I'm gonna believe you. I'm just gonna say yes.
Yeah, and the reason I'm telling you that is
I'll believe it. Let's start that rumor.
Okay, and I appreciate it. The reason I'm saying that is because lately people are driving so aggressive that if you're next to somebody that's driving aggressive in your car, there's no way to avoid that person. You're stuck in traffic. They will follow you. They will harass you. You can't do anything. On a motorcycle, you can just like...
Already gone.
You just split between two cars and you're out of the way.
Yeah.
And I seen, from what I've seen, especially, do you have the Citizen app?
Yes.
Okay, the Citizen app is fucking terrifying. Like every 5 minutes, there's like, you know, killing, stabbing, you know, police chase, whatever.
Machete. There's so many people with machetes
pedestrian
in LA.
hit. Yeah, so many people. I don't even know where to get a machete.
The machete shop.
Home Depot. But I like So, but most accidents that I see is people that are being aggressive and chasing people down. And this is why I'm like, wait a minute. Like when I ride my motorcycle, when I ride my truck, I'm like, wait a minute, I hate this. I can't do nothing with the truck. I'm trapped. With 2 cars in front of me, 2 cars behind me, I'm done.
Yeah.
And there's some asshole, hey, fuck you. You know, hey, like, hey, dude, calm down. Like, what are you doing? Hey, I'm gonna dude, this is awkward. Like, you know, like, what do I do?
I'm in a Yaris. It's like a pregnant roller skate. You know, I have no protection whatsoever. It's like a golf cart. But yeah, I think people in general don't see me as the most aggressive person in the car. But
yeah. Are you saying I'm aggressive? No, I'm kidding.
It's totally your fault.
90% of the time, it's my fault. Yeah, it's probably that too. But people are acting like fools. People act like fools. So when you travel, are you renting motorcycles? Are you going like Eagle Riders? Or are you finding these?
Well, I did. New Zealand, I rented, obviously, because otherwise that would have been a bit of a chore.
Okay.
And then...
I'm going to turn up the AC a little bit, but I'm listening.
Yeah, go for it. And I rode out to Moab, Utah on my bike. I took like a week riding out by the Grand Canyon and then through Utah, which was mind-blowing. Like, that was after New Zealand, and I had just no idea that was in my backyard. And then I also rode up to Port Townsend, Washington, on my sports tour. So
What were you doing there?
I was photographing the Wooden Boat Festival, which is put on by the same people who host the Race to Alaska, which is the documentary that I produced with my 2 producing partners.
I was just watching the trailers of that. That's fucking crazy. So that's so you produced that. That's a race that started, what, 2015, 16?
16.
16. And
15? I think it's 15.
What's the story of how they got started, and what is the Race to Alaska?
So the Race to Alaska is 750 miles through the Inside Passage of British Columbia. It goes from Port Townsend, Washington, which is it's outside of Seattle. It's the tippy top of Washington State, kind of out on a peninsula, and then it goes to Victoria, Vancouver Island. And between those two is kind of the proving ground. There's a vetting process for all of the teams that enter this thing because it's kind of insane.
What's that process like?
It's an unsupported, unmotorized boat race through some of the most treacherous waters that you can find. And so you need to, the people who host the race need to make sure that whoever's entering knows what they're doing, because it's potentially, it's a big deal. So there's a panel of anonymous judges that look at the teams, look at their, their credentials and what they've done and so forth, and make sure that they're eligible to go into the race and kind of know what they're doing and won't get themselves killed.
So somebody's overlooking that.
Yeah, for sure. So the proving ground is just to make sure.
And the states also, part of this, the Coast Guards.
Yes, actually, they partnered with the Coast Guard early on, and Pickerel, I forget her, Susan Pickerel, and I forget her title at the time. She has since retired or moved into a different job title, but she was head of the Coast Guard, I think, on Vancouver Island, and she partnered with race boss Daniel, and they kind of put into place certain parameters in which it would keep both the Coast Guard safe and the racers safe, because...
Is she the one that said, we don't search for dead bodies?
That's right. Yeah.
We don't search for dead bodies, only live bodies. Yeah.
The first time I ever sat into the captain's meeting was the first time I was at the Race to Alaska. I'd been hired as a photographer in 2017 was my first year. And it was for most of the racers, I think, or for a lot of the racers, it was kind of a wake-up call for me. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I tend to just say yes. That's crazy. And then I'll figure it out as I go. But she said that. And I think it's true. And she also said it to kind of wake people up because the race itself has a good sense of humor. It's kind of like this dark, funny, sense of humor about itself. First place is 10 grand. Second place is steak knives.
Steak knives, I know.
That kind of thing. But it's a real hairy deal. And if you don't know what you're doing and you don't take it seriously, then you can get yourself into some serious trouble. And even after the vetting process, the proving ground from Port Townsend to Victoria, Vancouver Island is a big deal. And it's there to kind of weed out the people who didn't prepare correctly. Maybe they know what they're doing potentially, but once they get up on the open waters and, these boats, no motor, that's a whole different deal. You could have been on the water your whole life. If you don't have a motor on board, you don't have an easy out. And so, luckily I've never done the race. I'm not gonna do the race, but it's a different mentality. Hopefully, you're prepared for it and you've trained with your boat and your team and that whole thing. And if you didn't, then the proving ground is going to kind of call you out.
It is because documenting this is very complex. It's a very intricate project. Did the film crew have a motored boat?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and they
Oh,
were
yeah.
able to like just go forward, back, take
Yeah,
whatever
yeah, yeah.
shots. Did they ever jump on other people's boats? And
Yeah, there's been a whole range of things that have documented this. By the time we got to the editing process, there were 70,000 unique clips that our editor went through. Yeah. And so Greg King is a god. He's amazing. And he, we've gotten footage from the racers at the end of the race. Zach, who has been with the race from the beginning, he's the film boss, and is also the director of the film. He would, collect all of that footage. They would collect it halfway through the race. And in the meantime, there are people out on the course like myself, there have been so many cinematographers and associate producers essentially on the race course filming this thing. And then there's people who follow the race on a tracker and will come out and just film people for fun, because it's inspiring and it's fun and it's,
so people would just tag along.
Yeah, totally. They'll come out on boats and interview people and post it. And so
I should do a podcast next time there. Just bring a podcast boat.
Yes. Oh my God. That'd be
You look
fun.
miserable. Let's talk about it. Wow. Somebody fell off board.
There's a small contingent that do it to win, but most people do it to see if they can do it, And so there's just, it's like summer camp for me. I love the people that I met there, the racers, the organizers, the support, because it's a nonprofit. And so there's just volunteers galore and people who love the race and love the idea
and the challenge.
Of it. Yeah. Everything is more and faster these days. And the Race to Alaska really emphasizes less and slower.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we might want to get back to, because it's better, the challenge is better.
The challenge is better. It gives you something to look forward to. It makes you more appreciative of life, of family, of everything. We're kind of on this, cruise of not worrying about nothing. Everybody has the access to the same thing. There's nothing to survive. We're so fucking bored that we're looking for reasons to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You're wearing a jean shirt in the studio. Why are you wearing a jean shirt in the studio? It's dumb.
Yeah.
We have nothing to worry
Your
about.
team jean shirt. Ooh.
Yeah, what? Yeah.
Ew.
Boo. You have more coffee than I. Anything.
Yeah.
People are, because there's no, you don't have to survive. You don't have to stress. You don't have to worry about where you're getting your next meal or where you're going to sleep tonight, or how you're going to get somewhere, or even little problems back in the days. They were annoying, but they're kind of you talk about it. I was talking to a friend of mine. I go, man, remember back in the days before Uber? When I was a teenager, you would go to a party with a friend. And if you want to leave that party, you were trapped. And you're like, dude, take me home, man. I want to go home. And now it's Uber. Kids are doing it. It's trippy. Communication.
Oh my God. You used to, call somebody on the landline and say, hey, I'm going to be at this place at this time. And then everybody just magically showed up on that day and that time. It was magic. Nowadays, it's, herding cats, because it's so easy to cancel or change it.
And you didn't have to worry about it. Or what if your watch ran out of battery or something? You didn't know what time it was. You had to call a phone number, and the number would be at the tone of the beep, Pacific Standard Time will be 3:40, and be oh, what time is it? People really walked up to each other in the street. Do you know the time?
Yeah.
We had no idea what time it was.
Yeah.
But those little things, and then the big things, gave us something to look forward to or worry about or whatever. It just kept us, on our toes. Now, fuck, you got this instant gratification, you know, Amazon, be there in 2 hours. Why is it taking 2 hours? It should be here quicker, you know.
And it just kind of feeds into this ability to be busier, you know, like the easier all those other things are to get done, I can fill my space with more work or more other things. And it just becomes kind of overwhelming. I think that's why I was so drawn to the race to Alaska. You know, I'm Swedish, and both my dad grew up on an island, and my mom used to race sailboats. So I felt like it was in my blood somewhere. But it's the same kind of sense as riding a motorcycle. You strip things down, you know, and you get on a bike and you pack it for a long ride. And I like to camp, you know, I'll do like 3 days camping and then I'll get a really nice hotel room and clean myself up. But it's, you know, you get 2 shirts, a pair of pants, really good gear. Yeah. And, you know, you break your toothbrush in half so you can fit it into your little satchel and some toothpaste. And that's pretty much it, you know, so wild. Like a comb.
Yeah.
You don't need a comb. I need a comb though.
Yeah. But I need a razor.
Right. But it's so nice. And when you strip your entire life down to a bag for several weeks, you realize how little you actually need. And then you come back to your house and you're like, wow, look at all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I say that without the camping. I'm like, look at all this stuff. What the fuck's going on? It's just too much.
Yeah.
It's too much, but we're supposed to. It's interesting because it's like the marketing companies. Like, I was just thinking about this the other day. Their job is to convince you that you need something you don't need. Yes. They are trying to take your money in exchange for something they have to offer. And I don't know why. I was thinking about it this way. I was like, wow, this is really fucking weird. And they're really getting us there. I mean, they're getting me and they're getting a lot of people.
Well, look, you need this little plastic thing that helps you do this one specific task because it's going to save you like 3 seconds out of your day.
And if you buy now...
You can have 5 of them. You can have 5. In case 4 of them breaks, you'll have an extra.
It's lifetime guarantee, but we'll include 4 more if you call now. You know, so but they're good at that, and this is why everybody in America has 50 TVs, and everybody in America has 3-4 refrigerators and 10 coffee pots, and it's just absurd. 3-4 cars, multiple motorcycles. It's like
it's weird. Like it took me a while to realize that because I'm Swedish and, I grew up in Alabama, so there was a real cognitive dissonance there in the middle. And I didn't quite understand that my whole way of thinking about the world was different because I come from Sweden. It's more of a socialistic economy, and you don't have credit. Debt is not acceptable, really, and unless it's for a house or education, you don't collect debt. Whereas here, it's like, oh yeah, no, you need debt, and you need credit, and you need to like do all this stuff that puts you in the hole. And like the whole idea of it was very strange to me. Like leasing a car, I'm like, no, you just get a car that you can afford and you pay for it outright.
That's it, yeah.
My little Yaris, my little pregnant roller skate, I just paid for it, and now it's not a monthly payment for me, and it's a whole different way of thinking about it. I'm not saying one way is essentially wrong, but it was definitely it was a realization for me that I just think in a different way about these like consumerism, capitalism, all of that stuff.
But people adapt pretty quick. My background's Cuban. In Cuba today, I was last in Cuba 2 years ago. They have no value for money because they can't do nothing with it. There's no stores. There's no malls. There's no nothing. But if you give them a T-shirt, if you give them a pair of shoes or slippers, they'll lose their fucking mind. Toothpaste, toothbrush, they'll lose their fucking mind, And then they come here, and it's a game changer. And within 5 years, they're in debt. They're buying cars and credits because it's so easy.
Well, and it's also perceived as if you need and want get confused.
Right.
But yeah, I was in Cuba. Time time right now is difficult because I feel like I lost 2 years, so maybe 5 years, 4 years ago, and it was
Before Wi-Fi?
it was right because Obama opened it up so I could fly directly from LAX to Havana.
Yeah.
And then Trump took, I think it was like in the early months of the Trump administration, I thought I better go right now because things are going to get tricky again. So, yeah, I think I ate rice and chicken for a couple of weeks, and there weren't any stores. We tried to stay at Airbnbs and not hotels
Which are hard to find as well. They're
yeah,
there.
I mean, they're definitely there, and it brings money back to the actual person as opposed to, the government.
Kind of, because it's a bunch of people in Miami running it.
Oh.
So if they're working with their family, they get the money, but usually it's the people in Miami, and they just cut them like a little, like, hey, chico, rentamos tu casa, we'll rent your house out, blah, 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 we'll send you the money because Airbnb doesn't work in Cuba.
Oh, man.
Sanctions. So,
man.
But it's still
slightly better.
Slightly better.
Well, I thought I did something good.
Yeah, no, it's better because you're still bringing. I'm sure you gave them clothes. I'm sure their house got occupied. I'm sure they made some kind of money, and they don't need to make that much money because again, there's nothing to buy. There's
right.
But
no, I remember one of the guys who owned the Airbnb. They couldn't get windows to put into the Airbnb. And, Westerners come down there and it was loud and they were, they wanted to be able to close the windows and whatever. And they were like, well, it's going to take a few months to get the windows supplied.
If they get it, yeah.
Yeah, totally. But, I mean, it was crazy coming back even within 2 weeks and walking into a grocery store and just the abundance just hits you. I could have anything.
Well, here, quick thing, just to add to that. Did you check out the Manzana Hotel?
In Havana?
In Havana?
No.
So in Havana, it's the first foreign company that's been allowed to invest into Cuba. And it's Kempinski, which I think is a Swedish company. I think Kempinski.
Sounds Finnish.
Yeah, it's something over there. I don't know exactly, but I believe it was Swedish. And they have a lot of hotels. They have in Qatar, Dubai. They have all over the world, except for in the west, the west side. Mm-hmm. And this is the first property they have is in Cuba, and they got basically a 250-year-old building, gutted it, and it's the first renewed, project in Havana. Wow. When I stayed there was a guy that was so fucking cool, man. This guy was so nice, and then at the end of the trip, I gave him some money, and he's like, hey, I can't do anything, much, whatever. He's can you do me one favor? And I said, yeah, anything. And he goes, in the United States, he's telling me in Spanish. He goes, in the United States, I heard there's a store called Home Depot, and I'm Home Depot because he's a Home Depot. Hay una tienda que se llama Home Depot. And I'm a Home Depot? He goes, Home Depot. I go, okay, what about it? He goes, I hear you can get anything from that store.
Shit.
And I go, yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. He goes, can you walk inside and record it and the inside? Because I can't even imagine what it is to because again, your windows break down, you're fucked. If paint gets fucked up, you're fucked. Your door breaks, you're fucked. And just to hear that, I was like, wow, this is fucking so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so fucking crazy.
It really makes you assess what you have and what you don't, right?
Yeah.
What you think you have and what you think you don't have. Yeah. There are very few things, I think, in the States that you don't have. Me personally, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but.
No, of course. Of course, each their own.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the Alaska. So then you get this vibe because you have to pack up. You have such minimal gear. You have to sleep in the middle of the ocean. Like it's this survivor or die kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, people do it on all kinds of vessels. They'll do it. There can be a $250,000 trimaran, and then you can have Carl Kruger, who did it on a stand-up paddleboard, which is
wow,
by far, I think, the most minimal vessel And he's still the only person who's done it on stand-up.
And I'm sure we'll be the only one.
I mean, he's a special human being
Yeah.
for sure. We have another documentary that we're producing right now in pre-production, and Carl is going to stand up paddle through the Northwest Passage, which, you know, you have this brilliant photo here to my right with the huge iceberg coming out of the water, and that's pretty much what it looks like up there. Unfortunately, you know, the Northwest Passage was historically, it's up in the Arctic in between North America and the Arctic Circle. And historically it was impassable in one summer. You know, it was so frozen over that you couldn't get through. And now it's been open for 8-9 years in a row. And so he wants to stand up paddle, and if anybody can do it, it's definitely him. Plus it's a good way to raise awareness to where we are right now. You know, somebody can stand up paddle the Northwest Passage. That is insane. We're in trouble.
Yeah, right before you came, I was trying to read so much about Alaska, and it's so fucking crazy. Alaska's crazy.
Yeah.
And huge.
It's huge, and it's incredible to get into these spaces that are so remote that you don't have any cell service. You don't see people for days. And that's so rare, I think. And a lot of people will never experience that. And it does something, you know, it's very cleansing for me. It's kind of a reset button to get back up there and experience that. It's been a couple of years now, because during COVID, they didn't do the Race to Alaska the first year. And then they did, because Canada wouldn't allow travel, they did what was called the Washington 360, which was around the Puget Sound. It's about 360 miles that they did instead of the Race to Alaska. So this year will be the first year back since COVID, which is amazing, because the movie's going to premiere up there June 2nd, which is my birthday.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you. So it's going to be a kind of a family screening. And then, of course, we have the LA premiere of the documentary on
There's a few of them, right?
Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be at the Lemley Monica Film Center Thursday at 7:30. And then it's going to be in NoHo and Pasadena on Monday and Tuesday. So
I'm going to try to catch I'm not going to try. I'm going to catch the one on Monday.
awesome. Yeah, I reached out to Gene, the head of membership down at the bike shed. And I love that place. I fucking love that place so hard. He was like, oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. And so he sent out a blast immediately that, you know, one of the members was having the screening of the documentary. And he was like, let's try to get a ride together. And, God, it's been so nice to have that space after COVID.
That support.
The support,
the stories,
community.
the community.
Oh,
just
my God.
right now, I mean, it's been 3-4 weeks, and just the stories that you hear. I think it was Amir. Her bike broke down in downtown LA. You know, everybody came through. She just signed up for membership. She had no idea what was going on. Everybody came through.
Yep.
Somebody else dropped their bike. We're in a group chat on Instagram, and she was like, "I dropped my bike." Everybody responded. You know, I took my truck. I went over there. By the time I went over there was 3 other people that hadn't picked up the bike, moved the bike, and you know, I was like, "This is great." You know, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
And you know, I've seen. It doesn't matter what I've seen. The fact is, Bike Shed was super necessary, and I've been super appreciative. You know, Gene did the same thing. You know, I saw the blast that he did about the documentary. Randomly 2 weeks ago, he was like, "Hey, check out Robert's podcast, the Ride Boundless podcast." And I was like, "This is fucking awesome," you know?
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting my motorcycle racing license. And he was like, "And congratulations about your motorcycle racing license." I was like, "How the fuck did he even know that?" Like, this is
so sweet.
They're on top of it. They're on top of it. When did you hear about the company?
Long way up.
Ewan about the bike
Charlie, shed? Yeah, Ewan and Charlie rode into Los Angeles as like the final destination, and they rode into the bike shed. What?
Like,
what's the bike shed? What the hell is this? You know, I'm in the motorcycle community in LA. What is this place? How have I not heard of this? and it looked huge. And so I checked it out after I'd watched the last episode when it aired originally, which I think it was I think they wrote it 2019 and then it came out 2020, if I'm not mistaken. And anyway, so I looked it up. It wasn't open yet, but they were accepting members. And so
for 2 years,
I remember like writing a little essay about why I wanted to join and how much the motorcycle community meant to me, which is interesting because I learned how to ride so that I could travel on a motorcycle through other countries. And I had no idea that the motorcycle community even existed, like how strong that community was. And it's been such a cool experience to, especially in LA, you know, it's huge. I had kind of moved away from acting, and so I didn't have that community anymore. And to kind of find that those people was really nice, because I think starting to ride and finding the community and the whole experience, it has been so pivotal in kind of who I am in the world. And it was as if I found my place in a weird way. Like it's this weird intersection of all these different things.
I feel the same thing. I know exactly what you're saying.
And I just, man, I'm so grateful that that I found that, you know. And it was completely unexpected.
Yeah. No, me too. The same thing. That place for me, it's like I've been looking for it this whole time. I didn't know to look for it, but like I found it.
Yeah.
And I found out late. You know, I found out on their, I guess the grand opening was on a Thursday for members. Mm-hmm. I didn't know about it. And then Friday was the grand opening for the public. And then somebody was like, hey, you got to check out this bike shed thing. And I'm like, bike shed? What is this? And like, you have to come in. It's blah, 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 blah. I showed up and I was like, what? Member lounge? Cool couches? Look at the deck. Wow, they didn't paint the walls white. There's some cool decoration. Holy shit. The food's good. The drinks are good. Good pour. Good pour.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Next day I signed up. Sunday showed up for the ride. And then I was like, I hope they accept my membership. And then I still was able to lock in a better pricing because it wasn't fully updated.
Yep.
But I was like, I'm not going to try to pull a fast one. I'll let them know that I signed up and it was that price. Anyways, so I show up. It's like 8 a.m. and then I see this woman with a tank top, tattoos, and you know, she's talking, and her voice is like, you know, like she's been partying all night or screaming all night, and I don't know what's going on. And I say, sweetie, you should get a scarf, get some tea, some honey. It'll be good for your throat, you know. And she's like, you're a darling, You know? And I'm like, by the way, I just signed up for membership. I hope I get approved. Who would I speak to? I want to join the ride today. And she's like, I like you. You're approved. You're good. You're good. Go speak to Dan. And then I go to speak to Dan, and I was like, Dan, you know, I signed up for this price. He goes, you're good. She says you're good. You're good. I'm like, who's that? She's the owner. I'm like, oh shit! Like this was, you know, perfect. Nice. I'm happy. I said get some tea and put on a scarf.
Oh, she's the best.
She's so awesome.
I mean, everybody is. They awesome. Set the tone though. Yeah. Dutch and Vicky set the tone, and
Dutch, when he talks, fuck, this guy's so poetic, and you're just like, oh, war. You feel like fighting or conquering something, you know?
Yeah.
When he starts talking, it's so amazing.
They've man. I mean, I knew that I wanted to be a part of that type of community, and then I saw the space, you know, before it was even done, and it blew my mind. Like they just. Thank you for investing in the LA bike community, because I think it was really needed. Like that kind of investment and commitment is huge and takes some serious balls. But especially through COVID and the supply shortages and the construction. I mean, that must have
kudos to them.
Crazy experience.
But they have a big fucking name. They can do a lot. I mean, they're having their event right now in London, and they're bringing in, 25,000 people?
Yeah.
Or whatever, 23 to 25,000 people? That's insane.
Yeah, that's great.
That's super great. So they know what they're doing. And I think they're going to open up a few more locations in the U.S. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, if you're a member in one place, then you're a member in all of them, which is also super cool.
Yeah. Another cool thing for me was the first member night meeting after I signed up. When I showed up, I was like, because I've been doing this podcast for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
So this is episode 67. When I walked into the bike shed, there was like 7, 8 people that I had interviewed. And I was like, what? Holy, and these were people so cool. that I went out of my way and researched. And I was like, oh, you're cool. I like your business model. I like what you're doing to the community. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. Yeah. And it was cool to see their face. And I was like, holy shit, this is where I belong.
I had the same experience when I went to, I'd been talking to people. Like when I moved into my house in South LA, there was a woman who lives one house down from me, who came out and we started chatting, and she's also a documentary series producer, and she had a Harley Iron Sportster, almost identical to mine, but white. And it was just such a weird coincidence. So she's a member, and then I showed up at the opening, and there were, all these different people that I met throughout the years riding out here, and it was really cool to see everybody and to have it kind of, there's a joke going around that the bike shed is an MC for people who don't want to be in an MC, you know, because it's just across the board. It's all types of motorcycles. It's all types of people, all types of careers and walks of life.
It's all over the place, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Actors Super and cool. builders and people in the industry, people not in the industry. It's an MC for people that don't want to be in an MC.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a perfect way of describing it. I've been in all the events they're setting up. Did you sign up for the Supermoto?
So
I hope I left some. I'm sorry.
Oh man, I'm pouring a little coffee. I work weekends. I'm a massage therapist, and so weekends are a big deal for me. And I always have to kind of pick and choose what I engage with on the weekends.
Yeah.
Luckily, meetings are Wednesday, Thursdays, but right now I'm just kind of deep into work on the weekends, unfortunately. So there's a lot of stuff coming up that I would love to be a part of. The Gentleman's Ride, of course, I think I'm going to miss, and some of those stuff, because I'm going up to the race to Alaska, and being a part of some of the premieres and stuff is going to take me away anyway, so having to kind of pick and choose.
Yeah. No, and May's such a busy month.
Yeah.
May's just a fucking busy month overall, but with
May,
all these
June,
biker events, it's crazy. I want to ask, but I don't want to spoil it, so don't answer it if it's going to spoil anything. But it's 740 miles, right? 740, 750? 750. How long does that take on a boat? Can you answer that? How long does it take on a boat without a motor?
Well, it just depends,
okay,
right?
Let's say this. Even better. How long does it take with a boat with a motor? Just to get an idea.
So I went up, God, I was so lucky. Man, I was so lucky. First year, I show up, I have no idea what I'm doing. Across the board, no idea. You know, growing up in Alabama, I'd basically been on a pontoon boat. I didn't know what a dry suit was, which is basically a suit that keeps you alive if you fall into the freezing water.
Yeah. And then you pee on it to keep you more warm.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I got the opportunity, and I had about 10 minutes to decide. We had gotten a sponsorship by Soleus, which is a 16-foot rigid hold inflatable boat. It's basically a dinghy. And they needed a cinematographer and a photographer to go up the inside passage on it. And we had a driver, Tony. And I was like, sure. You know, so I repacked my stuff into a dry bag in 10 minutes, got on the boat, and we stopped at different ports along the way because we were there to shoot the boats. It probably would have taken us maybe 3 days on a small boat like that.
On a small boat with a motor.
With a motor. But, I mean, we would show up in a port and they'd be like, where did you anchor your big boat? Because it looked like a support boat from a larger yacht type sailboat. Like, there was the couple of people who were absolutely convinced that we were like celebrities with like a yacht parked somewhere around the bend. We're like, no, we're just dirt bags in dry suits. I mean, if they couldn't tell from the way we smelled, I don't know. So they really wanted to believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about do you want to talk about the sponsors?
Yeah, we have Sistership, which is a organization for women over 50, 60 who are older and still just kicking butt and won't, take age as an excuse.
That's awesome.
And we have Newman Ferreira, who is a lawyer out of New York, who sponsored us on Kickstarter. We did a Kickstarter campaign. Thank you, all of our Kickstarter backers who supported us in finishing the film during COVID. So that was all like the post-production, all the mixing and the music and partly the editing and all of that stuff that is
The rental of the equipment, the camera. Yeah, there's so much.
yeah. And so that was the Kickstarter campaign. We have Fishery Supplies, which is huge. They've been a big supporter of the actual race as well. And Visit Ketchikan. Obviously, the race finishes in Ketchikan, Alaska, and they're a sponsor as well. And then we have, what is the last? There's always the last one that you can't think of, right? Fisheries and...
I can't remember.
I'm trying to see it in my head. I might have to check my phone.
Please do. Is that the city that there's no roads that go to it? Because there's a city in Alaska that there's no roads.
Well, there's the whole thing about going up from, like, the long way up potentially is a road that a lot of motorcycles take, but they go all the way up to Alaska. And so I don't know where that road ends.
Yeah, because I was just watching one. They said the only way to get there is by boat or plane. And the fun fact about that city was that there's a pizza delivery company that delivers pizza via airplane, and delivery's free.
That's great.
I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's how important pizza is. That's how important survival is.
Well, I think in Alaska, getting on a plane to get places is not so weird. I took a road trip up to Tuktoyaktuk with Carl, our director at the time, Yana, and who's also shot for the race. And we were in a car, which usually during the winters, you'll drive on an ice road. Like, the only way to get there is they make an ice road from, what is it? I'm forgetting the town right before Tuk. But yeah, I mean, and if you can't, like, in between the hamlets up there that are on the northern, like by the Arctic Ocean, you really just have to fly from place to place because that's the only way to get anywhere. And it's like a whole nother time situation because there's no way to really get places on time. You just have to wait for the weather.
That's insane. I really can't imagine living like that. But there's people, I guess that's it. I wonder how many people choose.
Up there. Yeah.
Well, I know there's a community, and people that live in that community, I'm sure, they're used to it. Like, they're like, fuck LA or New York, or, that's too busy. This is life. But I wonder how many people actually, like, quit this life to go to Alaska, or a country or a state or something that's like that extreme.
I mean, I feel like there were a lot of people during COVID, that were living, First Federal, duh. So First Federal is our last sponsor, and I just couldn't. Yeah, actually, one of the winners, I'm not going to say who, had a huge. We're sponsored by First Federal, and so yeah, they're a bank up in the Pacific Northwest that are really community based and were incredibly kind to support the film.
That's awesome.
But what were we talking about?
We were talking about people leaving LA to go to Alaska and live there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, tons of people went out to the desert here and, kind of ended up being over the big cities. Because when everything closed down, you couldn't go to the symphony. You couldn't go to theaters. You couldn't. I mean, there was a time in LA where they shut down hiking trails and the beach. And what was left?
That's right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Runyon Canyon. Yeah,
it was
Fryman,
like, oh, great.
Santa Monica.
Yeah. do you want to give everyone depression? Like,
wow,
my God.
I forgot about that. That was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It
we
was.
all
It went to
feel a
that
little
extreme.
weird still, and we've kind of forgotten why we feel really odd.
Well, I just feel like 2 years of my life were just like deleted and out of my life. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I try not to think about it, but fuck, hike. You couldn't even go hiking.
No, they were like, no, you can catch it out of the thin air. I mean, I remember I was out running, and I would like pull up my bandana running past people. You know,
Like, oh my God,
oh my God, yeah,
what's happening?
yeah, it was a
And now there's a
So, I
war with the whole Ukraine, and nobody talks about COVID anymore. There's no more COVID.
no more COVID. It's gone.
Magic. Yeah. 2 years deleted. Magic.
But I mean, so many people ended up realizing that they can work remotely. So tons of people have kind of moved into other areas.
It changed the economy. It changed everything.
Mm-hmm.
It changed everything for the future of working, of how people deal with it. It changed everything. It really did. And I don't know if it's good or bad.
I think it created possibilities for people. And you can either go back to the cities and your workplace, or you can advocate to work remotely. And I don't think necessarily that's a bad thing, especially given how expensive cities have become, how congested.
That aspect is I agree with. The thing that I'm worried about is people dealing with people. Like, you know, it just seems like people don't even want to look at each other. People don't want to say hi. Everybody's just in their zone. You know, you need more reason to stay home and not go out. Cool. Work at home.
I think, well, hopefully, you know, I'm usually a doomsdayer, but hopefully, you know, if people are moving to smaller towns and stuff, you kind of have to, that's part of being in those spaces, is becoming part of the community. And I think that's one of the things that draws people to smaller towns and working remotely, is finding that sense of community again. Like I said, I moved to South LA. I bought a house down there 4 years ago. And that community down there is amazing. You know, I know all of my neighbors by name. They are constantly looking out for me. I accidentally left my garage door open. My neighbor stood outside for an hour until I could get home to make sure that my stuff didn't get stolen. I mean, that kind of neighborliness is incredible.
Yeah.
So I think it's available in the big cities. You just have to go outside, make eye contact, shake some hands, and engage, you know?
Yeah, I think you do see it, but a lot less.
Yeah.
Like, this is a new building, and, you know, I moved in right when it was built, and I saw everybody move in. I only know 2 neighbors, like,
right.
And, you know, like wishy-washy kind of like. You
should, like, bake some cookies and go around and introduce yourself.
I probably should, but I'm not.
Well, exactly.
I'm
That's
not.
the thing.
They should bake cookies.
That's
no, I'm
the
cooking.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to make the effort, you know.
You do.
I've baked. We have saffron rolls for Christmas in Sweden. Saffron. Yeah, and they're a sweet roll that looks like an S with little raisins in them, and they're not everyone's cup of tea. But I bake those and I give them out to my neighbors.
Yeah, that's an acquired taste, right?
Yeah, and so, you know, little things, Christmas chocolate, or, you know, knock on someone's door. Like, my neighbor called me when lockdown happened because she knows that I live alone, and made sure that I was okay. And so then I called Hazel, who lives behind me and is in her 70s, and made sure she was okay. And, you know, all this stuff builds up. And Donnies and Jerry, man, they make sure that my packages are taken care of constantly. Sometimes I'm even at home, and if I don't respond to a text message saying that I have a package on my porch, they'll just come over and grab it for me, you know?
That's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah.
That's sweet.
So it just takes a little bit of engagement, I think.
Small communities are good too. Even I was thinking about, you know, we're talking about the survival of life. And it's funny because if you break down, you know, a simple example, if you break down in Los Angeles, nobody's going to stop and check on you. It's just not going to happen. Number one, because it's in Los Angeles. Number two, there's no real threat. There's no real threat.
Yeah.
But when you go to these small towns, people will stop because it's a small community and they recognize the car and they'll be like, are you okay? Can I help you? Let me call. I'll wait with you. But when you go to places like Alaska, if you see a car that's broken down, everybody's going to stop because it's life or death. You know, like it's a real issue. So people are actually, you know, like, hey, jump in my car. Is your car on? Whatever the case is, because it's life or death.
Well, and the odds are you probably know that person anyway, because
there's that
towns.
too. But even if you don't, you're right. The chances are you will. But even if it's just a random person and their car breaks down, like it's life or death. Where here in LA, it's like nothing's life or death except for going to a supermarket or something. You know, but like your daily commuter breakdown, you know, we have AAA, we have, you know, again, Ubers.
Well, and
Lyfts.
also like pulling off on the side of the road can sometimes be impossible if you're 8 lanes in, you know, so it's like a whole different thing. But I think, you know, I always say that people are so nice on the road, and then I come home and I hold myself in my house and I don't engage, then people aren't going to be that nice. You know, if I take my traveling mentality, and my curiosity of my surroundings and the people in it to my house and engage in that kind of experience in my own community, then it's going to look completely different. Yeah. You know, so I think that's something that I've learned, kind of flipping that switch.
Same difference.
Switching the flip.
Yeah.
What? And, making sure that I engage in that, like, that space when I'm home too. And just broader LA. That was such a mind fuck during COVID when you just couldn't engage in your community at all. Yeah. You know?
Well, it got really weird.
Restaurants, nothing.
It got weird when they were encouraging people to rat their neighbors out. That was weird too. Remember that? God. That was fucking Orwellian. Yeah, I had cops pull up, you know, because I was in a house before this. I had cops drive by, like, you know, and I was like, oh man, guys, hide in the garage, because I was doing like a barbecue. Put your mask on. Yeah, no, I was doing a barbecue, and cops drove by. I don't know if somebody called them, but they were like, you know, they stopped at my gate and they were looking. I was like, oh fuck, man, this is ridiculous. Who called them? I get it. I got it at the time. You know, I understand that nobody knew really what this thing was and how to keep people safe, but yeah, the repercussions of all of that stuff is it's no wonder we feel weird, you know. Like, I'll wake up some mornings and just be overwhelmed by being back at work and having all this stuff come up, and like the premiere and my massage and then the bike shed, and like all this stuff is amazing. But having spent a year and a half basically immobile by myself, it's been a pretty brutal adjustment to like get back into stuff, you know, to really get back that, be in the habit of being busy. I remember the first ride we did after everybody was quarantined. Nobody could see anybody, you know, a group of friends. We were like, you know, let's fucking go for a ride. We have to. It's been so long. Yeah. And it was like the perfect social distancing because we're all wearing helmets and gloves, but we didn't even know how to approach each other. We didn't know if we should hug, you know, fist bump. Like, we were like, what the fuck? I'm all spraying alcohol on everybody. You know, it's
wiping down your water bottle.
It was so fucking crazy.
It's been a rodeo. I'm glad we're kind of past it. You know, vaccines, boosters, whatever. I'm down. As long as we can keep moving forward, you know, whatever it takes. Yeah. To each his own.
To each his own, exactly.
Being in the touching industry. I actually started wearing a mask, KN95 this week, because COVID cases are spiking and I didn't want to be quarantined
in China,
for the
everything.
Premiere. Well, here too. I mean, it's everybody.
Yeah, now it's happening here.
Everybody's.
Well, they say the new one's more easier to get, more contagious,
less lethal. Yeah. So it's going to start, but it's still not. I don't want to lose my taste and my smell. Have everything smell like poop. Yeah. Like, my friend got it and he's like, everything smells like poop. I don't want that.
I know.
I just don't want it.
Some people say they just smell chemical.
Great.
You know, everything smells like chemical. Yeah. I don't think I recovered my full sentence. I think I'm probably like.
When did you have it?
December last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think December last year. I got it both times in December. I got it the previous December and then this last December.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, but I think, but yeah, I think my smell's probably at 60-70%.
Yeah.
But nothing weird. There's no chemical smells. There's no, you know, nothing bad. It's just not there.
Yeah.
You know, and it'll kick in. You know, I'll be somewhere like, do, 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 and I'll be like, hey, it does smell like shit in here. What the hell's going on? Who stepped on shit? You know, but yeah, no, it's just been fucking a crazy journey.
Yeah.
My mom's like, fuck all this vaccines and booster shots and everything. I'm not doing anything. I'm 74, 75. If life is going to take me, let it take me. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
To each his own, like I said, you know, it's everybody's own. I think early on, everybody was about pointing fingers and whatever. And I finally got to a space where I was like, you know, everybody's on their own journey. And whatever that is, you know, I'm just going to let them. I think growing up in Alabama, coming from Sweden, I really had to learn tolerance and acceptance of that people don't all think the way I do.
Yeah.
And I can still be respectful of that and understand that they're a human being and they have their reasons. And so, yeah, I think, man, if we could just have a little bit more tolerance, in America, or, I mean, this has kind of been spreading, culminating in a war in Ukraine. But, yeah, and Sweden's going to become part of NATO. Like, it's blowing my mind. It's blowing my mind
I
right
heard
now.
about that rumor. Are they going to be NATO 100%, or it's
They
going
applied.
to be? They
so
applied.
both Finland
They're just instigating.
formally applied. Sweden is going to, but Turkey, God bless them, think that Sweden and Finland are harboring terrorist organizations. There's I read it, and I'm not 100%.
Repeat that. Turkey is
part of NATO and doesn't want Finland and Sweden to be part because they think that they're harboring terrorist organizations, Kurdish terrorist organizations, which, you know, they're free to believe that. But I think it has to be a unanimous 30-30 vote for anyone to become a part of NATO. And so I think Turkey can put the kibosh, but Finland, Sweden, Turkey are having conversations right now to see if they can get past that. It's interesting. I wonder what Turkey,
what's going on.
Maybe somebody made a call to someone and put a little. I have no idea.
Yeah, but we have no idea because there's the whole thing that China wants Taiwan or something, and then Turkey wants to send Azerbaijan to Armenia and take over that. Like it's like everybody has an agenda.
Everyone's,
you know, India's like, oh, you
power
know,
grabs.
Well, every great empire has to come to an end. You know, I'm sorry to say, but
yeah, I like to hold out. I just want a little stability and normalcy. Honestly, like, can we all just get along?
Can we just
for
take
a little
break?
bit?
Can we just take a shot and just chill?
Oh, seriously, a little whiskey.
Oh,
Let's have a
that's
universal,
That's
global whiskey tasting, shall we?
Fuck it, some vodka. It's okay, Russia. Bring some vodka, peace. Ukraine, come on.
To each his own, man.
Scotch,
Yeah.
whatever. You know, some beer, whatever the case is.
That'd be great. Yeah. Universal holiday.
And then one more question about your writing.
Yeah.
Where did you learn? What steps? When you said, I want to start writing, what steps did you
Yes.
take to learn how to
Right?
write?
I have people come up, especially women, and I am a huge advocate for women writing because I got such a huge sense of power and sense of self through writing. And so I just advocate it for all women, especially, but everyone should get a motorcycle. Everyone. So I decided I was going to ride a motorcycle because I saw the documentary. And then I looked it up, classes on the web. And at the time, and I'm so sad to hear, but at the time, West Side Motorcycle Academy was the one that I decided on. And it was over by the VA on Wilshire. And I just looked it up because I keep referring them people when people ask me. And I think they've... I don't think they're doing classes anymore, unfortunately.
Oh, it's sad.
Yeah, because they moved over to Inglewood like my neck of the woods, and I guess it was just a bit of a struggle. So, but on Westside Motorcycle Academy, they've been kind enough to put other places where you can take classes. And so what classes do, I'd never been on a motorcycle before in my life. And so Westside had it in a parking lot. They give you a small motorcycle and they take you step by step. And so, you know, you have to start somewhere. And I sat on my bed and like closed my eyes and kind of went through clutch and the brakes and whatever and kind of got in my head and tried to get the muscle memory of it, because it's a little intimidating if you think too much about it.
Yeah.
When you just get on the bike and you just do it, it's not as difficult as you might think it is. And then so what the classes do is they, you know, actually get you on the bike, and they will, at least in Los Angeles, if you're taking the right class, if you pass the class and they're affiliated with the DMV, I think, in some sort of way, then you don't actually have to bring a bike to the DMV and do the
test, the DMV
writing.
test.
Yeah, exactly. You can just go to the DMV, do the written exam, and get your license. So that's on top of having the classes and letting you, I think, you get a deduction on your insurance. You also don't need to take the driving exam.
Safety course certificate or something. You like a percentage off.
Yeah, so there's so many reasons to go take a class, and I think it's really helpful because you're not.
So you took the class, you learned it, you did the test, and then just bought a bike.
Yeah,
it sounds so fucking crazy sometimes, you know.
I know. It's a little crazy because, you know, it's a big hairy deal. But yeah, I had on my calendar buy a motorcycle, and I was really busy, and I only had this one day. I went to the Triumph store. I rode the Triumph. I knew which bike I wanted, but I wanted to kind of try it out anyway because I'd been looking at the Triumphs. They were fine, great bikes. I went to the Harley store. I rode the Superlow at the time and the Iron, and I didn't have any miles. Like, I hadn't ridden anything, and they were like, "You kind of need." We can't let you ride these bikes without, you know, I was not prepared to go on the little loop that they take you on. And so I was like, look, I'm not going to buy a bike unless I can sit on it and try it. Can you roll it this was at Bartell's. I love Bartell's so much. They rolled the bikes behind into like the little housing, you know, the back streets. So I just rode it down the street and back. And, you know, the Iron scared me. So that's what I bought.
Because it scared you. Yeah.
I knew I could grow into it. You know, the Triumph was super easy and very comfortable, but it didn't scare me. And so I was like,
yeah, sometimes you got to be scared to get shit done.
Yeah. Well, I knew that I had space to grow on it. And I still have the same bike, 2014. Still have the same bike. I just rode the Harley Pan America, and I think that's going to be my next bike.
I heard great things.
I don't know if I haven't ridden a lot of bikes, but that bike was something new, something different.
I heard great things. I have a Streak Line, and I have a GS, a BMW GSA. And I don't want to try the Pan America because I'm like, fuck, I don't know.
I need to talk to someone. I still haven't talked to anyone who's ridden the GS and the Pan America, and I don't know because I haven't ridden the GS.
There's one member. Nicholas. He goes by Nick, and he now has the Pan America, and he likes it. But he likes it. But he used to have a GS. But I think he likes the GS a little bit more.
Interesting.
I don't know.
Do you know why? Hearsay, guys.
It's been around for 40 years, you know, or 35 years. The engineering's just more different. It's a little bit more solid. I mean, let's get this straight. Harley Davidson, for this bike that they made, is fucking amazing. Yeah. Because BMW right now made a bike that's a cruiser, and it's the R18, and one has a fairing and one doesn't have a fairing. And people are saying it's a 70-80% bike. Like it's not quite
right
like a Harley.
Right.
And for Harley to make this off-road bike and execute what they've executed, it's fucking impressive. It is so fucking impressive. Yeah. And I've heard very good things. I did hear it runs a little hot, but Harleys run hot, you know. So other than that, everything's been positive, positive, positive. So it's just when you're going to compare it to a model that's been around for 35 years, it's kind of fucking hard. You know, like
I mean, I haven't tried the GS. I almost don't want to.
I love
now
the
I
GS.
want the Pan Am so
yeah,
much.
don't. I've been Harley my whole life, and then 2 years ago I rented a GSA, and went to Joshua Tree in the rain, mud. I mean, it was the craziest conditions, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. Got
well,
back.
and that's the thing. You don't want to ride into a national. I feel like such a dick riding into a national park with like my Vans and high and short shots and just you know, come on, you can hear it for like miles and miles and miles, and it's just not very neighborly.
Right.
So I would love to get. I've been wanting to do off road stuff, but I don't want to trailer my bike because I have a Yaris. I don't know.
Yeah.
If I even could. So I want to be able to ride to where I want to go. And then
what gets
go
better
off-road.
gas mileage, your car or your bike? I gotta ask. Well,
yeah, maybe my Yaris. Yeah, it's a good question.
I wouldn't be surprised because the Sportster's probably like 30 miles per gallon or something like that.
Is it not better?
Well, I'm sure the Yaris is probably similar.
Yeah, no, it absolutely.
I mean, obviously the Sportster has. You have the peanut tank, right? So it's like 3.3 gallons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously your car has more, gallons, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
I'm sure your range is like.
My next car is going to be electric for sure. I don't want an electric bike because it scares me to have a quiet bike. Like I put baffles in my short shots because I was getting tinnitus because they were so loud. And even that, I know I used to be Moses, parting the sea, and now I can tell there's a difference.
Loud pipes, loud pipes says lies, and bright lights.
Yeah,
bright lights.
I have the Daymaker. Mine. I don't like the look of them as much as the incandescent, but the incandescent was terrifying.
Yeah, my GS, I have 20,000 lumens, which is fucking insane.
They'll blind you.
Yeah, it will blind
Out
anybody.
of my way.
Yeah.
Good.
But the Harley has loud ass pipes.
Yeah. You have the live wire too.
And I have a live wire sitting in the living room.
That is so amazing.
It's weird because I took like through town. I thought it'd be a funner bike, and I'm just so used to big bikes. I'm just used to baggers and big. I'm just fairings and windshields.
Is it too easy? Like what is it?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't get used to it. And I don't know what it is, but I did take it out to the canyons once, and I was like, wow, this thing is on point. This thing's fucking, the suspension and the way it rides is so on point. This is badass. It's super badass, but I would still rather ride the GS.
Interesting.
And I ride the GS way more than the Harley now.
Right.
I got them both 2 years ago. I'm at 17,000 with the GS, and on the Harley, I'm like at 8,000.
Yeah.
The live wire's got 60. Oops. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. 60 miles.
But I think we covered everything. What's your Instagram?
It's
where can people find you?
My name is complicated. It's
L-I-V. How do you pronounce your whole name?
So it's Liv Von Oelreich. Liv is like leave the room. It's L-I-V. It means life in Swedish. Von Oelreich has a German ancestry to it. It's titled, and you pronounce it the V with an F, but it's VONOELREICH. So it's
hell of a name.
It's a hell of a name.
It's a cool name.
I spend my life just spelling it.
Yeah. Well, my last name's Valderrama, and it's like it becomes long. Roberto Valderrama.
Yeah, it's a good one. It rolls off the tongue, though.
Yeah.
Especially if you can roll your tongue.
If you can roll it. Absolutely. Well, thank you for being on the podcast.
Such a pleasure.
I look forward to having you once again. Keep us posted with your projects. What's the website for the documentary?
The racetoalaska.com, and you can get tickets and ticket links and all of that good stuff there, and watch the trailer. Is amazing. Please come. It's a scrappy film. It's a great fun film to watch, and we would love your support. Let us know what you think, And I think it's right in line with the motorcycle community. So I think people who like bikes would like the scrappiness of the race for sure.
Looking forward to watching it on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you.